Good screaming, my ghouls, and welcome back to the channel. I'm super excited because this is our very first video that we are doing about my collection. My collection I have been collecting for over 20 years. I started collecting as a young girl and it just grew into an obsession. Here's our first video. We'll see what it's going to be like. And thanks to Go Klepto, The Dead End, and Devil Dog for picking the Living Dead dolls. If you are a YouTube member or a Patreon sponsor, you guys get to pick what piece of my collection I discuss and talk about. And you guys suggested that I do my Living Dead dolls. So we are going to do our first set. Is a pretty big set. It's a series 5. Living Dead dolls were created, back in like late 90s, early 2000s by Ed Long and Damien Glonick. These are very macabre dolls. When I first seen these, I had to have them. This is before they were well known. They used to tour the HorrorCon or any con circuit, and this is where I first met. I actually met Ed Long and Damien a couple of times, but this is where I first saw them with their School Time Sadie and Exorcist and all tons of cool stuff. I'm hoping that this video does justice to them because these dolls are gorgeous. And I'm going to show you and start off with Series 5. We're going to start off with Hollywood. Now, Hollywood Series 5 has a variant as well. So there are 5 dolls in this series, and there's a variant that also has 5 dolls. I was lucky enough to get at least one variant, which was Hollywood. At that time, when I was collecting these, they were really hard to get. Now, I don't know if they're super hard, but I was a die-hard collector of these Living Dead dolls. And I say was because I haven't been collecting them in a long time, mainly because they're hard to get here. But this series that I'm going to show you is the non-variant Series 5, and we're going to start off with Hollywood. Now, these are lovely silver caskets, beautiful silver caskets, yes. And on the top, they come with their plastic that covers their body and the protective paper. Inside this is a death certificate as well. We also have a nice little poem or rhyme for each of these Living Dead dolls, and each doll has their own story, their own death certificate. And we're going to go over Series 5. So I'm going to remove her cover, which I don't normally do. So it's been a long time. I haven't removed it. This is the first time this has actually seen air. So she is gorgeous. Gorgeous. Her name is Hollywood. And Hollywood was a famous glamour gal. She liked to race around with her rich promoter Sal. But late one night, this resulted in their death. For the brakes had been cut by a stalker named Seth. Pretty creepy, right? Yeah. This is Hollywood. Now, Hollywood has some little fun facts that I'm going to share with you guys. And this just tells you how much of a collector I am of these. Her cause of death is massive head trauma, and if you were to open up the death certificate, it would tell you her name and other information and how they expired. Hers is massive head trauma. She shares a death date with actress and former Playboy model Jane Mansfield. Yeah, kind of creepy. Both Hollywood and Mansfield died of severe head trauma due to an automobile accident. Yes. But Mansfield was nothing to do with a stalker cutting the brakes. It was just a pure accident. Creepy. And I'm going to now show you her variant. Okay, so this is her variant. And as you can tell, the variant is in a white. I know my light's making it look a little yellow, so let me just go like this. She is, oh my God, my lids, yeah, like I said, they have never come off. She is in a white paper, where the other Hollywood, the non-variant Hollywood, is in red. She's gorgeous. These ones are definitely, the variants are black and white. So let me just take this lid off of her as well, and I'm going to show you both. Aren't they gorgeous friggin' dolls, man? Like, how and why wouldn't you collect them? Oh my lord, let me put their lids back on. I get worried. I mean, I've had these dolls for so long. Look at the plastic. It's aged. It's because I got these when they first came out. Quick little backstory. I was hunting through eBay back in the day, and I lived in New York at the time. And this is how I found this collection. And believe it or not, I got this collection for maybe about $100. Still factory sealed. I'm the ass who factory sealed them. But you have to, just to be able to sit in their awe of how beautiful these dolls are done and made. I love these dolls. Now, yeah, we went to... When I first found Living Dead dolls, Heavy and I, we were at a ChillerCon in 2004, and that was in New Jersey. And we came upon this toy seller, Ed Long and Damien, and they were selling these cool friggin' dolls, and I had to have them. And I started collecting my series that way, and I would follow them around. That sounded creepy. I would go to the conventions that they were at just to buy their dolls, because some of them were exclusive, and they've only made so many of them. Which is kind of cool, but can also suck when you're an avid collector. And like I said, I used to be an avid collector, and I want to see if I can get back into it again. It's quite expensive though. Now, our next beauty that's coming up, her name is Jezebel. And I'm going to just take her coffin lid off as well. All right, let's take a look at Jezebel. Isn't she pretty? All right, so Jezebel goes, her cause of death is loss of blood. And we'll get into that. We definitely will. Jezebel was a runaway who lived on the streets, saddened by the sound of her own heartbeat. With a razor in its hand was all just too much. Her body fell fast, ice cold to touch. Yeah, they don't pull any stops when it comes to these guys here. They don't. Now, a little fun fact about Jezebel. She shares the same death date with a burlesque dancer by Lily St. Cyr. That is the burlesque dancer that she shares a death date with. Kind of creepy. Actually, let me hold her here still. There is a black and white casket version, which was randomly inserted into a factory sealed Series 5 cases. I have one. So basically what it looks like, it's factory sealed. Oh, I should have showed you the back of these. Factory sealed in the plastic, but how it went is like this. So you didn't get to see the doll that was inside of it, right? There was a couple that did that. They also released only 500 open casket versions, which is this is the one that is the open casket version, and they only made 500 for them for the Mezco Club members. I know, I sound silly, a grown-ass woman talking about Mezco Club member, because I am a Mezco Club member. And when you collect these guys, you get, special things. Now, let me show you the inside of the coffin, because I didn't show you that before. So, inside the Hollywood set, open up the lid, and this is what you see inside. Quite cool, right? Now, if you were to turn the coffin around, because the lids sit on the back, obviously, this is what the coffins look like. Well, these ones do, right? Each one is different, and this sits on the back of this coffin, and then her plastic goes on top. Under her dress, though, I can't show you here, but under her dress, she has a tattoo that goes up her left leg and a black garter on her right thigh. They definitely did this doll justice, especially with the detail. Also, her wrists so this doll has slash marks on her wrists, marking her death by suicide. I know it can be pretty dark. I don't think I can show you guys her arm at the moment. I'm not willing to take her out of her coffin. But also another little fun fact about Jezebel, her name is quite famous. It is. Her name and her cause of death are reference to a biblical Jezebel and her followers repeatedly cutting themselves in attempt to summon the god Baal. Yeah, this is a dark one. Some fans refer to her by the nickname Bella due to the fact that her original full name was used as a slur to push the narrative of black women being promiscuous. Yes, that's another little thing that you may not know about the Living Dead dolls. There's a lot of significance to real life in these dolls as well, and they do go around putting in facts and information. So if you're an avid collector, make sure I know some of you don't like taking them out of their packaging, and I'm one of those, but you've got to really admire these dolls. You can't leave them in them because it gets so shiny you can't see anything. Now, our next one is Siren. Yes, Siren. Now, Siren is quite cute. And Siren's cause of death is her mouth was sewn shut. Yes, her mouth was sewn shut. We're going to take a little peekaboo at Siren. Now, I think my camera makes her a bit whiter than what she actually is. But Siren was ultimately untimely. Oh my god, I can't even spell. Okay. Siren was untimely singer whose voice, it was said, sure could linger until the night she was sewn into silence. Her song abruptly ended with a fierce act of violence. I'd like to know who's sewn her mouth shut, hey? And they do play really good detail to each of their dolls. Like, you can see the holes where the rope is put into her mouth and sewn shut. Some fun facts about Siren. She has the same death date as Janis Joplin, one of my favorite musicians. She's also the very first doll to have the stitched mouth. Yeah, very first one to have the stitch in the mouth. Really hard to see, so I apologize for that one. Her name now is a nod to the mythological Siren, the beautiful sea entities who lure ships with their voices in order to wreck the ship and down the sailors on board so they can eat their faces off. I don't know really what sirens do, but I like to think they ate their faces off. Now, our next lovely little doll here, we all know the story of the Black Dahlia. Yes, we do. And so, of course, they have a doll by the name of Dahlia. And her cause of death is bisection. And if you know the story of Black Dahlia, it's a real sad one. And with the killer still out there. But here we go with Dahlia. She is definitely a beauty. They did pay quite a bit of attention to detail. You can see the bisection right in there, right? Kind of creepy. I had to open these ones up out of their package. But anyways, she is based on and shares the same death date with Elizabeth Short, who is nicknamed the Black Dahlia. Even her injuries on the doll are the same that she sustained in real life. So you'll be able to see that she does have a bisection done. And the mouth as well has been done. So kind of creepy. She's also the third doll in the main series to be based on a real person, which I thought was quite cool. Let me put that over here as well. She's also one of the first dolls to be resurrected based on a real person. And she is the very first doll to have the stapled cheek molds. The next one would be, I believe, Misery would be the next one with the stapled cheek molds. But she's the only doll with the full staple body molds. She's the only one that has that bisection stitching. Now, our very last but not least doll in this series is Vaude. Vincent Vaude. Vincent Vaude. Yes. His death was suffocation, and we're going to show you a little bit about Vince. This is Vince. He's a handsome boy. Okay. Suffocation was the name of the game. And he dreamed of performing on the grand old stage, an amazing escape artist of a tender young age. So small, Vince Vaude locked himself in a trunk. By the time someone found his body, by the time someone found his body, sure stunk. That was a little tongue twister there. He's got really cool looking face as well, and the suffocation. It's really hard. I'm gonna try to take some close-up pictures of my dolls and see. Now the cool fun facts about him. He's the first doll to use the screaming face mold. There's a couple of them out there now, but he was the very first one to utilize it. He also shares a death date with the escape artist Harry Houdini. Yeah, you all know who Harry Houdini is. He also shares a death date with the other dolls in series, I believe series, I think 32. Ye Old Wrath and Nicholas. Yeah, there's tons of series on these guys. But I do love them. They're morbid as fuck. And I do want to show you just like, again, the little front of it, because it's got the cast, the play, and the directors, and they did a really good job. So you can see the cast, Vince Vaude, the series, and the directors, and then the little story about them. Now, these guys are precious. I know some of y'all might be thinking, what the fuck, right? But they're cool dolls, and they have cool stories and death certificates. Some of them even have animals with them, depending on the Living Dead doll, which I'm going to show you some more, because I have numerous series and singles. I have exclusives. I have an exclusive one from Germany, which we hunted down to find. That one, yeah, she's still in her factory sealed plastic, and I will not be cutting that open. It also has Ed and Damien's initials on it, as well as numerous other ones that I have. I have stuffed animals. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video of my collection. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of the information that I shared. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. It's my very first one. I may get better as we go on and do these. Let me know in the comments. Did you collect Living Dead dolls? Do you like Living Dead dolls? Are you now going to collect Living Dead dolls? And reminder, if you're a YouTube member, which is right there, you can hit the join button and you can become part of the Undead here on YouTube and get some really awesome perks, as well as get your input on picking what collectible I will be talking about next. Same thing if you are a Patreon member or investor. You can check all of that out in the link. There's some awesome perks, coffin chat, Terra files, and more for anybody who's on Patreon. Plus, you also get to pick what collectible I talk about. Anyways, huge thank you to each and every one of you who have followed me, that encourage me, and that keep me going into this crazy world of content creation. And a huge shout out again to Go Klepto, Devil Dog, and The Dead End for putting their input in on my Living Dead dolls. And thank you, Petrable, as well, for being fucking awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna head on out here, guys. Enjoy this. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. And I will slash us all later. Bye-bye.